The 90% rules when you're playing blackjack are kind of like an addition to basic strategy. They're things that we've noticed happen often enough that you really want to take them into consideration and factor them into your game. They're just kind of like an additional tool. And that's what a lot of this information is that you'll gather as you are perfecting your game of Casino Style 21. It's rules, suggestions, and percentages, mathematical probabilities that you factor all together and come up with what we call a playing strategy or a personal playing strategy, and that's what we help you develop in the Blackjack Workshop. You want to be sure to visit the website. It's on the top of the sheet here, and it's http://www.fantasycasino.us. The 90% rules, I'm going to go over real quick and then we'll play a couple of hands here. 90% of the time, the fourth card will bust your hand. Track it. What that means is that 90% of the time when you add a fourth card to your hand, you're going to go over 21. So you need to make your decision based on the fact that your busting probabilities really increase significantly with the fourth card, and then make your decision based against the up card that the dealer has showing. If you take a third card and you survive, and the dealer is showing a neutral or a low card, you'll be better off most of the time to stay than to hit. The second one is that the 90% of the time the dealer will make their hand when they're showing a 2 value card. The 2 is called the dealer's ace, and that's because there are so many probabilities of combinations that can combine with that 2 to make a viable hand of between 17 and 21 that the dealer very often comes up with a pat hand and does not bust. 90% of the time, the only sensible split is aces and eights. And again, that's the mathematical probabilities. The numbers that can combine with aces and combine with eights to make a viable hand between 17 and 21 to very often give you a winner is what makes that statement very, very true. Remember, the dealers have to have 17 to 21. You're looking for hopefully 18 to 21. And when you have an ace and you split it, and you get anything above a 7, an 8, a 9, that's 12 cards, and then any one of the 4 10 value cards, which is another 20, that's 32 cards out of a deck of 52 cards, or half the cards in that deck, will make a hand better than, will make that ace good. And the same thing happens with either an 8, added with numbers added to it. Very often you'll get maybe a 2 or a 3 to go with your 8 that gives you a double down after splitting opportunity. So aces and eights are the ones you want to stick with. 90% of the time you will not make the hand when you double against a dealer's 10 or an ace. And again, it's all mathematical probabilities. When the dealer is showing a 10 or an ace, you've got a long way to go to make a good hand. So you want to be very careful about putting extra money into that hand unless you're really ahead on house money and you're in one of those things we call the zone, which is things are kind of happening really nice and hands are falling in your lap, and no matter what you try, it's right. It doesn't happen very often, but boy, is it sure fun when it does. 90% of the time you'll lose if you split 10s. Splitting 10 is, in my estimation, next to doubling down on a blackjack, are the 2 stupidest things that I've heard people do in this game. I've never actually seen anyone double down on a blackjack, but I've heard people talk about it, and I understand the theory behind it, which is that if you're betting lots of money, like $100, $200, $500 a hand, and you double down on it successfully, you're going to realize a 50% more payout from the house. So on some avenues it makes sense if you're that level of player and you have that level of bank to play with. But remember, this is beginning. This is the beginning steps, the baby steps. This is where we're teaching you to play by the basic rules, and hopefully while you're playing, learn enough about the game that if you ever want to advance to where you're doing things like that, you're doing it with knowledge and percentages of the mathematical probabilities of the game. The other one is that 90% of the time the cards are going to come out ass backwards. Bank on it. That means that if you need a 10 and the person in front of you gets a 10, you may not have a 10 coming. You might want to kind of slightly readjust your, say you're going to double and the person in front of you gets a 10. You might think about whether you want to go ahead with that double down or not. Okay, so this is my money management hand over here. We've got 3 wagers here that we're building up to 2 units each. And my additional buy-in of another $20 is still sitting in the back there and still wagering 1. This person's going to wager 2. This person's going to wager 2, along with the toke for the dealer. So we're going to go ahead and come out with the cards here and see what everybody ends up with. It's going to check this hand. Uh-oh. Blackjack. And nobody gets a chance at anything. So we're going to go and repeat that same wager. Toke for the dealer, 2 there, and we're going to come up with 1 here. And then I'm going to take 1 that I've doubled up to 2 and slide it back over here. So I'm always striving to have a minimum of 3 bets there, stacked up, building to 2 units, building to 3 units, building to 4 units, and hope that I'm going to get the chance to play them consecutively. You can never guarantee. Now, people who count cards and track cards think that they have a pretty good feeling for whether there are high cards, low cards in the deck, and I don't dispute that. I think it's a very valid theory if you want to put that much time and energy into it. I just have never really seen it work for a lot of people personally in the situations I play in, because there are too many people that jump in and out of the games, and that changes the whole dynamic of what's going to happen in your game. So you need to be able to roll with the flow. Okay, so we have a 7 against an ace. Let's look again. Nope, no blackjack this time. 7 is going to hit, and now that person has 15 against an ace. That's kind of neutral. Probably would hit it again. 16, and that's where I would stay. As we just said, the 4th card is 92% of busting. The next card is 98% of busting. So, and again, I'm suggesting you track those things. When you decide to stay or hit, watch and see what the next played card is going to be to kind of reinforce whether you're making the right decision or not. 18's good, 20's good. Dealer has 6 or 16. Dealer has 19. So this person could have taken the additional card and it wouldn't have busted them. But it may or may not have been enough. So this is 19. So this person here is going to win. This is a loser. This is a loser. So basically, your 90% rules are additional guidelines for when you're playing this game and what you want to do with it and how you want to hit and how you want to proceed. Again, there's nothing etched in granite, but it's good information, something for you to add into your personal playing strategy as you play the game, and have a good time and good luck.